Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of All American Wing Shooting Podcast. We're in such a special place today with a friend that I've had since the beginning of my shotgunning career. Welcome, Kevin Sterk.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be with you.
We are here at Griffin and Howe at one of the most favorite buildings on campus.
Oh, we love this.
In the whole property. This is called Pheasant. And
Alias the Swamp.
The Swamp. And
Yeah.
This is where all the shenanigans happen after dark.
Sometimes before too. Sometimes before, but this is a very comfortable place. Yeah.
So I don't know the history of this building, but when you walk in, it's stone walls that looks exactly the same on the exterior. And it is just a heavy, thick cigar smoke, whiskey barrel.
That's cool, but actually the original history is, with the original mansion, kitchens were never in the building.
Right?
This was the kitchen for the main house.
Oh, no.
Always off, right? Always
Yes.
a little bit away, keep the heat out here. This was the original kitchen. And actually, when the house was refurbished, they set the Pheasant up as the wood shop
Okay.
because they could keep their equipment put up, because there was so much redo work in the main house. They used this as the wood shop. So then it transformed. This was the original office for Hudson Farm, and the shooting school was born here.
No
It
way.
was born here.
No wonder this is
And
my
it
favorite
expanded.
building.
Yeah, this is where everything happened. My early years, 2000, 2001 up till 3, everything started from here. The other buildings didn't even exist. So this has got a lot of history in it. A lot of history.
Well, that's what we want to talk about today.
Look at the walls talk.
I love
Walls
all the
talking
history
here.
up here. So we are just right through the yard of the main house here, and Griffin and Howe is always known as like the top shooting school. But there's so much other history here that it is just hard to tackle in one conversation, and it seems like every corner like strikes up another story.
Another conversation, another story, because this is legacy here. This is not, we're not a startup company. We've been around a long time.
I love that you use the word legacy, because when Steve called me, which I will say, when Steve reached out to me to come and partner with you guys and be a part of the shooting program and help ladies get involved, I thought it was all you. And I don't know if I've given Steve, told him that I didn't give him that credit, but I really did, because you were one of my first friends that I met in the shooting industry.
Right. We met many, many years ago,
Yeah.
right down in Charleston. And
At
we just-
Sealy.
Very, very, God, this got to be 10 years ago.
Almost.
Maybe more. Maybe.
We're barking on 10 years.
Been a long time. So it's all, we talk about this legacy thing, and it's one thing you'll find in the shooting industry. There are certain companies and people that have been in this. I always say we've been all in.
Yeah.
All in for
From
a
the
long
beginning.
time. From the beginning, and we've been doing this since a kid, and you can talk about this guy and that gal, and say no, they have 40 years in this industry, and there's a reason why, because they're legacy people. They have, and I'm going to throw you a bone here, what we call is tribal knowledge, right?
Oh, I love that you talk about tribal knowledge.
Tribal knowledge. It's like
Yes.
these are known truths, not just
But
old
not
Joe.
textbook truths.
No, see, look, the textbook, it's one thing to write a book and try to lay something out, but there is some tribal knowledge out there that if you go to them and you go to here, you're going to hear, the top tier shooters, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You could draw a line through it all. And similar to gun companies, the survival rate is a lot of people have fallen off. There's been a lot of custom gun companies through the years, and it's, there's a certain recipe that works that will keep you in business.
Well, there's so many ways we could go this conversation, and I've waited so long to podcast with you.
And this is our first.
It's our first one.
Right? One of many.
One of many. So on Tuesdays on All American Wing Shooting Podcast, you will have weekly updates from me and Kevin.
Yep.
And sometimes I'll be in Georgia or wherever, and you might be in here or the gun
We
room.
will be
or-
a couple of flexible kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just want to keep people updated and connected, not just with the shooting school here at Griffin and Howe, but just industry legacy, because you've done so much. You're one of the very few level 3 instructors. You're so involved with NSCA.
Yep.
And so Griffin and Howe is such a special place, and there might be people that dream to come here. They may never get to come here, but they would love to have a piece of your knowledge. And I just thought this would be the best place to share
Yep.
all of your stories.
So think about this. We can take this over the next, let's start, we'll do 100 of these.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start with the
100.
first 100. But I like to take people when I'm training my crew, and when I'm a certifying instructor for the NSC. I've been working with them for a while. I like to explain the pathways,
Okay.
the whys, and how we got here, because then it kind of seems to make sense to a lot of people. And there's a lot of different avenues in the shooting industry. You know, like I've explained to you, there's the hardcore NSCA, I love to shoot tournaments. I'm just crazy about the shooting
Right.
tournament, but I don't hunt. Then
Okay.
there's folks, the recreational, like we like this. We go twice a month. There's that group,
Yeah.
and then there's the hardcore hunter that I know where you're going to be in October, because there's only one place to be in October, right?
And I
Doing
show
that.
up to shoot clays, and I'm like, I still want to shoot my side by side.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, I shoot a Model 21 in
And Pat
North Dakota,
does.
right?
Pat shoots a side-by-side out there.
I'm a side-by-side guy.
Yeah.
I shoot a Barazzi. I shoot a Zoli. Different tools for different disciplines, and it's taken a little bit of a journey to discover all these different things. You know, I've got a 28 side-by-side in my hand when I'm in Maine the first week in October. You know, we're shooting a little brown bird, so
Yeah.
we don't need a big gun. But in North Dakota, I usually, I'm always ounce and a quarter, number 5 nickel plated in my Model 21. But
Wow.
you know, shooting
With a big
roof-
sweatshirt.
big gun, big shots, and over my big dog.
Okay.
Right? So-
I want to know things that I just never stopped long enough to get your stories. I want to know the very beginning. How did you get in wing shooting? Like, how did you get into the shotgun world?
Want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. Okay. So I started, I was that kid in the basement loading pistol and rifle. My uncle got me started. I really wasn't a shotgun guy, but I was pretty good with a pistol,
Okay.
even better with a rifle. And I got hooked up with this group of guys that went duck hunting, actually in a duck club. They said, would you like to go with us? I'd love to go. So I knew how to shoot a shotgun, but I didn't really know how to. The truth of the matter is, I really didn't know how to hit anything
That was
moving.
yeah. So
right?
people know how to be safe with the shotgun.
Yeah, I knew how to
but
work
not-
the
yeah,
gun,
yeah,
but I didn't
yeah.
really know how to hit anything. So
I'm guilty.
I'm telling you, I'm in the most awesome place in the world with snow geese.
Oh.
And when I tell you,
Oh,
there
that's
was
fun.
50 snow geese, like right there.
Yes.
And my buddy Frankie's like, ting, patow, patoo, 3 go down. Me, I empty my gun, nothing falls down. He chuckled and it kind of like laughed, like, what's, and I was like,
What?
what happened? I didn't know what happened. But I will tell you though, the next mallard that flew by at 40 yards paid the ultimate price. Out of sheer anger.
Yes.
But I knew there was something there. So Kevin went and
How old
bought-
were you?
Maybe 31,
Really?
right? 30, 31. I'm 70 now, so that's 40 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, and then so Kevin goes and says, there's something to this. So
Yes.
I went and I bought a book. I gotta find this out.
I love it.
I went and
I'm
bought
a
book.
find-outalogist,
I
too.
still have the book.
Yeah.
Bob Blister's book.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody knows, been around a while, you read Bob. He's no joke. This guy was doing things like trying to figure it out way before, having his wife driving station wagon, shooting patterning boards, like just that. And then I went to the ski field. And then I did this, and then I did that. I started shooting. I started figuring out. Then somebody invited me to a feed task. In
Oh my
Pennsylvania.
gosh.
And my
Just right out of the gate?
Well, I started figuring things out, right? And then I win C class
Really?
in feet my first time out. I win a bag, I win stuff,
What?
I get money. I said, I'm in. This is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, it was just, I got hooked. They set the hook, and I just, back then the game was early, it was young, and going to a tournament was like you knew everybody was there. A lot of tailgating. I mean, you got there early.
Massive camaraderie too.
Massive.
Yeah.
Like even after the tournament was over, people didn't leave for an hour and a half, 2
Yeah.
hours. We got to know everybody, and to this day I still know and see and call and talk to all those folks. They've been in it for so long.
That's so great.
And it was a lot of fun. So
I didn't realize that you got into it in your 30s. So did I.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I had my first handgun when I was 16. I worked with my brother. I saved my money.
Mm-hmm.
Early 70s, I bought a Ruger Super Blackhawk 44 Magnum. It was $112.50, and I still have that gun today, and I still shoot it.
That's
all
great.
these years later. But that's where it all started, and it got crazy.
So, what took you from, okay, I'm a competitor, to I'm going to help people learn this game. I'm going to help them
there's a
learn
good
the
one.
love
There's a
of the
good one.
game,
So-
the tradition, all those things, because legacy just weaves in and out of both of our shooting testimonies, you know.
I will tell you so here we are every weekend. We're just fiends, and we have a nice little group of guys that, hey, be down on 202 by Milford Inn. Be there at 6 o'clock. We all teamed up, jumping John's F350 diesel, and off to the tournament we went. Because so now that motivates you to go.
Yeah.
And at some point you start to realize that, I got married, I got a mortgage, I had started to get responsibilities, I was running an automotive business, and it's just, I realized that at that point in my life that to be a professional, you have to have that professional golf mentality to be a good competitive shooter.
Yes.
And I really never did anything in my life like halfway. I ran
Imagine
really
that.
tight. I did a really tight automotive shop.
Yeah.
I've trained a lot of people, and I realized at a certain point, you start going up the ladder and you start shooting big scores. That to win, you have to take it way more serious and train, and that just wasn't in my cards to do that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had taught in my business, all my employees, I trained people all what I knew. So let's say I teach you one kind of transmission, so you can do all those, so I can do the more difficult stuff.
Yeah.
And I always taught because I mentored everybody, right?
Yeah, you're a natural.
So that led to another thing, and then I said, I did my level 1 with the NSCA when I first came here to Griffin and Howe Hudson Farm. I organized it. I think we did our level 1 in 2003. There was a bunch of us. And then I think I did my level 2, 6 or 7. I was doing this thing on the weekends. I was working 7 days a week, 5 days at my business, and then every weekend here at Hudson Farm.
Right.
Did that for many years. I worked 7 days a week. And then I knew I was going to do this full time, but I was still part time. I did my level 3, I guess, 13, 14 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. So, and then I went to being a certifying instructor. I believe there's 8 of us, 8 or 9 of us in the country that are certified to do level 1s. I'm certified to do level 2s. I'm probably one of 2 people that do that. And I basically train and mentor all my crew. So we've basically taken the shooting school here in the last 15 years I have 4 full-time shooting instructors that are all level 2s. And then I've got probably 24 part-time employees that do charity events. A few of them do some private instruction. Like today, they're out on a corporate event and they come in at different levels.
Uh-huh.
Everybody starts in the basement, and
Yep.
everybody's an apprentice, and you work your way up. No trophies here, so everybody works their way up. And that's how it goes here. So here we go, moving forward. They all think I'm going to retire, but that's the big joke, right? So
I said the same thing. I told Tater, I was like,
what would I retire to?
I hope that
What would I retire to? Are you kidding?
one day she's hauling me to all the trade shows and people want to hear her stories,
I have no desire to retire to what. That's absolutely bizarre
What
statement.
would we do if we retired? We would still be doing this.
So look, I work 4 days a week now instead of 5 and 6, but I am booked. I just looked at my calendar. I've got gun fits booked in October. I've got shooting lessons. It might take you a month to get a lesson with me unless somebody cancels. I've got as much as I can handle. I'm very grateful, and it just gets bigger.
Well, not only do people want to come here because of the shooting instruction itself, but gosh, I don't think there's a prettier course.
No, not at all. So if you've been out on the course, my thought pattern is on the course. We have a couple of different goals here at Griffin and Howe and Hudson Farm. So we do a lot of charity events, okay? The fundamentals of a charity event is to raise money for the charity. So the activity is sporting clays. So my guys are trained to take brand new shooters and get them out on the course and break targets in a safe and an entertaining atmosphere. So when they come back, they have a good score. I don't want to see anybody shooting less than a 45-50 on my course. My instructors know how to get it done, so when they come back, we may have just lit a fuse and brought new people into our shooting
self-confidence, positive
bringing
self-image,
in
all
everything.
the things.
It's just like, I had no idea I could do this. So, they come back, they may come back for shooting lessons. B, the charity's delighted because they come back with big smiles, and the charity does well because they're here to raise money for an ultra good cause. And there's no negative to it. So you got that going on, and then we have a membership here, and we have quite a few students that are seeking to shoot at a higher level. So we have A and B targets or charity. Years ago we used to call them DU targets, right? That was a phrase up here in the Northeast. That's just paying, let them break the targets. They're just very straightforward. I don't throw junk here, but they're very straightforward. And all my guys, it's just meet the line, run it, and look at the bird. My 3 and 4 targets are more tournament oriented. They have a little more distance, but I don't throw any junk. And then I have a few areas here that will, if someone is really serious that is looking to punch from AA to master class, I have the right equipment here to take them where they need to be. They're not for the faint-hearted. We've seen the game change considerably. The world was here last year, and everybody got a big surprise and they did say it was the world sporting, didn't they?
Yes.
Not Joe's Club Championship. So they got a rude awakening. Anthony threw, and some of the other top shooters, they saw what really needs to be shot. So that's where we're at right here. And we have some other opportunities. We do a lot of training on driven shooting here. Right? Which
I did get to experience that with Hans the last time that I was
driven
here.
is a very different sport, and we're probably the only place on the East Coast that has a facility directly set up and a training program for people that are going on their trip to England.
If he needs to come in, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We don't care.
We don't chase anybody away.
We just,
more the merrier, right?
We're here camped out where the cigars are all stored, so sometimes
and others.
and members want to come in, so the more the merrier. You can join in the podcast. This really does feel like a family reunion.
Absolutely.
Like every single day.
Absolutely. So, people learn when they're having fun, when they're at ease. They become a much more teachable student when they're relaxed. We don't want people being tense. When people are having fun.
We can't be tense and confident.
No. Those two combinations don't work.
Because tense is always related to doubt.
It's just being tight like that. It doesn't work. So over the years, we've created an atmosphere that people, I want them to feel like they're coming home when they walk in the front door.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, and I probably told you, I said, you're a guest here for about the first 5 minutes. And after that, I said, the coffee's over there, get right, bing, 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 and let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
And they just feel like included, they're part of what we do here. And that's of the utmost importance.
Okay, we got off track with all good stuff. Your journey. So you were competing. You ended up shooting like all the games at one time.
I shot FITASC. I shot sporting. Shot many times U.S. Open, the Nationals, Texas. Here in the Northeast, because we all had full-time jobs, we would go to North Carolina, Hunters Point, East Coast Nationals, anything in Pennsylvania. There were weekends where we actually hit 2 tournaments in one day. The AM and we were fiends. We were maniacs. We loved it.
Yeah.
And back then, a lot of the courses couldn't sustain multiple. They had a 12 gauge, a prelim, and sub gauge. They didn't have the resources back then to do that. The game was still growing. When I first started,
Hold on, tell me what year it was, because it wasn't that long ago. What was the first year like the NSCA was established? Was it the 70s?
So I'll take you back. So it used to be, there was a Mason-Dixon line. SCA was in the Northeast.
Oh.
NSCA was in the West.
Oh.
So it started, SCA started, there was a guy in Ohio, and everybody up here in the Northeast shot SCA. They would have the opinion, well, why would I belong to an organization in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So push come to shove, they threw more targets in Texas, and it grew and grew and grew, and then finally NSCA kind of just
took over.
It blossomed into something that was very organized.
Mm-hmm.
And the key thing is, when you went to an NCAA tournament, you could recognize, and the people even, we had people that would come in from Texas, and registration was run by the same people. It was very organized. They kind of made it hey, we have an 8 o'clock flight, an 11 o'clock flight, a 1 o'clock flight, where before that it was on a much smaller scale. I wouldn't call it skeet in the woods. It was past that. I remember those days also. I remember all the old people that brought him up, Gary Herman in the Northeast. He used to bring A.J. Smoker Smith over.
Smoker Smith.
A.J. Smoker, yeah, that was like a big name back then, back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was a small game. Gary Herman in the Northeast here, he was like the first guy. What do you mean? Shooting lessons. He was the real deal.
Sure.
Jack Mitchell, okay?
Yeah.
Some of my mentors. Addyville East Farms in Rhode Island, okay? Jeff Gaby, God bless him, he's gone now. He used to bring Jack Mitchell over, who West London Shooting School, worked for Cogswell and House. Another guy, 50 years in the business. He was one of my mentors. I would sit at the picnic table and watch him teach and just watch this guy pull his magic. Mm-hmm. So many people, and it was like the first thing, shotgun lessons, really? It was such an early thing,
What year was that?
92, 91.
Wow, because when I came into it, it already was, it felt so established. It's still mind-blowing of how quickly this industry took off.
It took off.
So fast.
It took off big time. Look, before that, when we all started, there were no sporting guns. We were shooting sporting with Browning Broadway trap guns.
Yeah. When I first started, I was with a field gun too.
No one was designing a gun for sporting. The game was just still evolving. We were going. In fact, I spoke to him earlier this week. We were going to Eister. Kenny Eister did my Parazzi in 2006.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, when was the first time that you started hearing about gun fit? Like the secrets of gun fit?
Secrets of gun fits. I'll tell you right up front. Let's see, I'm 30. Keith did my gun fit. Keith Lofton did a first gun fit on me 30 years ago. 30 years ago. He was like the only guy. The only guy. Because it just wasn't, there was people doing this, doing that. And really it was, the game was really skeet, trap was strong in there. But, when things started evolving, you would see guys with, body filler on their guns and say, look out for that guy, he's experimenting stuff, because they were developing guns, right? And it just evolved into this. We were taking old Parazzi Mirages, with the step rib and, putting combs on them and putting length on them, because back then everything was short and we were big and, tall, and you'd shoot these little tiny guns. Mm-hmm. And it created, and once the gun companies evolved, they saw there was a market for this. I mean, Andy Duffy is a local from here.
Okay.
That name resonates with everybody in sporting plays. He was a pipe fitter in Morristown, okay? In Middletown, New York, rather. He used to shoot with us. He got his picture on the cover of the Browning catalog. That was like, oh my God.
That is
one
a
of
big
our
deal.
local, that was
Yeah.
a big deal. There were no, you didn't know anybody that had a Parazzi, but the Browning catalog, and that was a big deal. So Browning started coming out. We were shooting 325s, Browning 325s, and then if you could find the European 325, you had a gun. That gun had serious balance because the Europeans, the English were way ahead of us.
Right.
It had European stock. The grip was swept back. The barrels were balanced better. We started talking about back boring, and the guns started to come. The guns got livelier. You started thinking. Back then when you said shoot targets at 50 yards, somebody would think you were nuts. That's a standard now. But back then, some of the first guns that we started recognizing were Browning 325s, and probably in the night 425 came along. But I would tell you the Browning 325 European was the gun to have back then.
I learned to shoot on a 391.
391, and that was another.
Yeah.
Listen,
That one, and still this day, I'm thinking, why did I ever? Why did I change?
we
I was
all
so good
say
with
that.
that gun.
Look, a lot of guys. A 391, even
Yeah.
a 303. All the old Beretta had a nice semi-auto.
They
We
still
would-
do. I
They've got
forgot
it right.
all about my 400 because I went like side by side crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It's a
when
phase.
Tater started shooting tournaments this past year, she just decided one day she's like, I'm gonna try this. I think I'm finally big enough, and it fit her perfect. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, this was such a sweet shooter. Yeah.
We if you talk to any of the older guns, ask Anthony. He started, right? He
Yeah.
started on a Beretta, and we'd have a little barrel work done on them. We'd do a little spring work on them to make them more reliable. A lot of us had drop out extra trigger groups with them, and now we wonder, like, why did we get away from these guns? They shot so well. They handled so well.
And they took a beating.
And they took a beating. Yeah, they took it. You had to clean them. You had to
Yeah,
keep them
Tater,
clean.
she cleans hers
But,
after every round.
Awesome semis.
Yeah.
Awesome semis. We shot them until the cows came home. I still have a few home in the safe, but the cool setup back then was have Eister do the barrel, a 1.5 choke, and there wasn't anything you couldn't break with that gun. Wasn't a target in the world you couldn't break with a 1.5 choke. It was just a super gun. But everything has an evolution, P guns started coming along, MX8s, dropout trigger groups. Kreekhoff started to acknowledge the industry and say, well, this thing's growing. I think we ought to jump in there, right? K guns were great. Then all of a sudden, just here lately, in the past 20 years, Blaser stepped up, and Zoli has stepped up, and the market is starting to recognize. And then all of a sudden, hey, the girls want to shoot too.
Well, I was going to say, I almost feel like the sporting world has taken off and is almost overshadowing the hunting world now.
Well,
And maybe it's just because we're coming out of tournament season and that's just what's been in front of
true,
my face
but
a lot.
I say this is like if you look at the sporting world, and you can go with the NSCA, and they'll tell you the number of active tournament shooters. Trap is still like this. Trap is still huge, even though you don't see a lot of trap. Trap is
In the South, you don't. But it is such a cool environment to go up north, because I did a lot of dog training in Wisconsin and was around that. And then I traveled some with some of the guys from Minnesota that shot in those trap clubs. It's like Wednesday night churches down
Absolute.
south.
There
Those
you go.
guys
There you
do
go.
not
Listen,
miss.
small piece of
trap
real
club.
estate. Small piece of real estate.
Yep.
5 guys shooting. When I got into it, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. Troy Meadows, we'd go out. My job as the kid, right? And actually, that was probably, I started a little sooner. My job as the kid was to take the shot, the powder, go home every week and fill the spackle bucket full of reloads. And a bunch of us would go out Wednesday night, Troy Meadows, and pound out as many trap games as we could. Because that's what Wednesday night was. And
Yeah.
then go to Al's house, have coffee, cake, and
Yes.
I get sent home and kid, fill up the bucket. And
Yep.
there's so many people that will tell you that story. That was my job. I
fun.
shot a single barrel trap gun, a Beretta, right? I got to use the Beretta if I filled the spackle bucket. They gave me the recipe, big tub of red dot, right? Guy had 50 bags of shot under there, and boy did we have fun. So here's a little tidbit for you. Here in the Northeast, if you look back at any of the old golf clubs, the established golf clubs, country clubs, they all had a trap field.
Really?
All of them had a trap field. And you go there, you have pictures, the guys in the teens and in the 20s, all with the great shorts, the hats, side-by-sides, shooting trap. Why? Because they can't play golf, but they're not going to sit home. It's that I'm going to the club, they shoot trap.
Okay.
Skeet was not developed yet. Trap was the first play there, not
Yeah.
skeet. Skeet came along in the 20s, right? Skeet came along in the 20s in New England, practicing the grouse shooting. I'll bring you the book, right? All the angles, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have
But
my
trap, that's where trap came from. It was a game shot at all the country clubs, and it caught on because you think about it. It was economical,
Yeah. And it
small
didn't
piece of
take-
real
yep,
estate.
it didn't take a lot of
You
space.
could get 5 people shooting on the same station,
Yes.
right? And it would, what really made it take off is post-World War II, in the GI Bill, the guy came back from World War II, GI Bill, Winchester had a deal, they would set you up with the machines, a prefab clubhouse, and all the houses, 2 trap fields, 2 skeet fields, put you in business for less than $10,000.
I've never heard that.
And I will take you out, one day we'll do a road trip, and I'll
Okay.
take you to 3 of them within 50 miles up here.
Oh my gosh. I can't
Winchester,
wait.
Winchester equipped, Winchester made the machines, the machines are still around, but a guy could come in, less than $10,000, GI Bill, set up his own shooting range, right? Thunder Mountain, Englishtown, Mid-Hudson, all within 50 miles, and that's how it
Oh my
started.
gosh.
So now a guy's in business, so some people went bowling,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of us went shooting. You played bridge on this night because it was a hobby and everybody was very social.
Yeah.
And one night a week, you would even go out, maybe Thursday night, was go to your local indoor range and shoot bullseye. Right? Everybody shoot 38 pistol because that was another weekly hobby.
Really?
Because people were into it was a social, it was very social driven. It was a hobby that, you know, you had all these GIs coming back. You know how many millions of guys went overseas. They were trained on weapons. They were trained on shooting, and it continued on through. And you can track, and actually, we'll do one where you can track the design of shotguns from, you know, how everything changed from before the war to post-war, how guns changed, because we don't want to shoot that anymore. We want this because this is what we learned of. So it's a lot of history of that
A
stuff.
lot of influence from that.
A lot of influence from that, and I think it's good. You know, that's some of that tribal knowledge that people get interested in. Well, how did we get here? We got to know where you came from, and this is what
And there's not a lot
moved the
to
market,
talk
what moved
about
the
it.
sports. Yeah. So people have to talk about it, and there's still a few. There's just still a few people left that still know the real stories, because you know. A lot of it is the stories get jumbled up as they get told over and over and over, and then by the time you hear it again, it's gee, you know, that's not because I was there, and that's not really what happened, you know, because I kind of watched the whole thing. So
Well, I know that you have a lot of influence with instruction and stuff. We could get into training tips and stuff, but I really do want to keep this history alive, and we talk about legacy, and so I just thought this would be a great place for us to
Good place to
record
start,
some
right? Good place
stories
to start.
and get people really connected with the why and where we came from, and love the game even more.
right,
Yeah.
you know why do, and you know it's kind of funny. You can connect how the sporting world started, how it started to travel.
Yeah.
You know how guys station wagon. So what do you guys do in Maine in October? Because somebody from Louisiana, well, actually someone from Louisiana would know something about woodcock.
Yes.
Because that's where they end up. But
Right.
someone from Ohio,
Not from where we are. Well, we
right?
don't
you
have any grouse
guys go
anymore.
woodcock. What's this woodcock thing?
Mm-hmm.
And then What do you mean you're going hunting in a canoe for a moose? But people started to travel. You know, the station wagon was the original SUV, right?
Yeah.
And then two guys getting in, camping started. Well, we're going to go on a hunting trip with camping. And you start looking at the history of how people started to spread out. Instead of their local, you know, we have great deer hunting. Why would we do anything else? Well, we do this here, we do that there.
Mm-hmm.
And having
For
the
recreation,
ability, for
yeah.
recreation, but to have the ability to travel and to camp and to harvest an animal or a bird that it's just not, it's not available where they are.
Right.
And they started making time to do these trips. You know, going up north and catching the flight coming south, or going to the coast. You know, I grew up as a coastal hunter, as a coastal duck hunter. I spent a lot of time in a duck pond, a lot of time. I'm 25 minutes, probably at one time was probably the best resource on the East Coast. And it was so easy to get in the water and get in a spot and see ducks and have a tremendous opportunity to be so. We're doing everything that we've ever seen in any book or any magazine. We're doing it right here on a consistent basis.
Right.
Because that was our resource. You know, other people have to travel, you know, way far away to get this kind of resource. So
Like
it's really
us in
kind
the
of-
South.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Y'all come on in.
How are you?
And I
Here
think
we are with more guests.
more guests. Everybody's welcome.
What are we watching?
We're filming a podcast. You want to join in?
Want to jump in? You want to tell your
What
story?
is your favorite thing about coming to Griffin and Howe Hudson Farm?
Getting a lesson from
There you go.
Did I say the
Lord,
right
there
thing?
you go. Very much so. There you go. Good to see you.
And
You guys have fun
congratulations to Hans.
today?
Pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
There
Well,
you go.
you guys, thank you so much for tuning
Yeah.
in. If you have a question, if you have a comment, or you want to dig in a little deeper with something that Kevin has touched on today, feel free to send me
Right.
an email at anna@annaVOutdoors.com.
What topic, right? What
And
topic?
if there's something you guys want to hear about it,
We'll
yeah,
roll
just
with it.
share with it. So
We can
we
roll with
look
anything.
forward to the next 99 podcasts
Nice. There you go.
with Kevin and Anna V.
We got one. There you go. Bingo.
Yes!